Welcome to the Ark, New Jersey.
Yeah.
Shalom.
Shalom.
To the 12 tribes.
Yeah.
Scattered all over
All
the place.
over.
We're a hot mess. We're everywhere.
All over there.
Right? To those that are sure enough blood descendants and those that are drafted in.
There you go.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
That covers almost everybody.
Everybody.
If you're elect.
For sure.
If you're not elect, I guess that
You didn't make it.
Eric said you didn't make it. I want to talk to you for a minute. And trust me, this is not, I have never talked to anyone else about what I'm about to talk to you about. So, you, in this setting. So, I didn't this is not pre-designed, pre-lined, laid out, and I sat down with 5 or 4 people, not anyone. This is just Yah, myself, and the Ruach coming together and giving you a message. Hopefully, you get something from this. Where's my other Bible? There it is, there it is. Gotta get rid of one thing, get rid of the candle. The lighter. Alright, so, an offering of righteousness. And Lauren did an excellent job talking about offering. Yes, I might talk about offering, tithes, and giving. But that's going to be like part of the message. When we read through the book, the King James, right? We have how many books?
66.
66. How many New Testament?
27.
27. How many Gospels?
4 Gospels.
4 Gospels. So we look at we're narrowing it down, all right? We get down to the 4 Gospels. Why did Yah give us 4 Gospels instead of just 1?
Accountability? Count? Second count? Something?
Well, it's always good to have 2 witnesses.
Right.
So in anything else, he gives you 2 witnesses. Here he gives you 4.
That's great.
Why 4? And some people will tell you 1 is because 1 was a servant and 1, and they give you all these little
Well, they're different perspectives.
different
I was just about to say that.
perspectives.
Perspective.
So I want to talk to you about the perspective of Abraham and his giving. Now, earlier we talked about John the Baptist. And we talked about, I said I wanted to get into the mind of John the Baptist. Right? I also want to get into the mind of Abraham. But when you read through Genesis, it gives you a little, it gives you some details, a lot of details. But there's some details that are missing, that are found in the other books. So, most of us have almost, especially if you live in America, you have maybe 3, 4 of these books in your house. They're on your nightstand, they're in your bookshelf. Mom gave me one when I got married. I got baptized, somebody gave me another one. My kids get born, I give them one of these. Right? The problem is, if you open it and read it, a novice. Just open it and start reading it. They're going to see JC and the Sunshine Band, right? And they are going to be led astray as opposed to towards Yah.
Right.
Why is that? Because someone has taken our book and started and took, first of all, they took a whole lot of books out of it.
Yep.
Narrowed it down to the books that they think are important to us to learn. They took the Almighty, El Shaddai, and took his name out and gave him, classified him as G-O-D, classified him as L-O-R-D, all caps, little caps, capital L, little letters, every kind of way to twist it, as opposed to just saying
What it is.
who he is. So when you read it, you're like, and then the Lord, but then you go in the Old Testament and you find Lord is Baal, and you're confused. When I say JC and the Sunshine Band, because you start following their tune, their rhythm. What is their rhythm? What's the rhythm of JC and the Sunshine Band?
There you go.
Huh?
And anything, I said love and peace and anything goes.
Somebody give me some of the rhythm. Like if I say Parliament Funkadelic, all of a sudden you're like,
Right.
we have to. You're going into that rhythm because
Okay.
you know the rhythm of the song, right?
Right.
You know the rhythm that they play. James Brown, say it out. It's already, it pops before I finish the word out, right? What is the rhythm of JC in the Sunshine Band? In case you don't know who JC is, Jesus Christ and the Sunday Worshipers.
Jingle bells?
That's one of them. Jingle bells literally is one of the rhythms of JC and the Sunshine Band. Give me another one.
Easter.
Easter,
Halloween.
Halloween,
Christmas.
Halloween.
Christmas.
Christmas. These are all rhythms when you start thinking of JC and the Sunshine Band, and that's what's found in the book.
Sunday worship.
Sunday worship. They will swear up and down. He got up on Sunday. That's why we get to have sunrise service. Sunrise service.
Love, peace, and universal
I thought you were going
forgiveness.
to love, peace, and tenderness.
I'm
I was
not-
that's-
I'm not singing love,
that's-
peace, and
that's-
hair grease,
That's
but-
Al Green.
Al Green, right? No, but it's love, peace, and universal forgiveness.
Ooh.
Unconditional.
Unconditional love and forgiveness. Yeah. Yes.
Well, when you say that, J-O-D, who they call, loves everybody,
That too.
right? These are like rhythms. You can't go into one of their assemblies and leave and go and with some of their followers and sit down and have dinner without having pig or shrimp or lobster, because that's part of their rhythm.
Yep.
That's why come out from amongst them and be ye separate, because once you're with them, you can't help but
Get involved.
be like them.
Oh, but that's like
Yep.
that. You don't want to put me in hell over some pig or shrimp.
And I want to take us to a few scriptures, and one is not even found in this book,
Yeah.
because we're going to look at Jasher. So someone said earlier, can you tell me what are some of the names, what do they mean? Go back to Psalms 68. And somebody read Psalm 68 the first three verses in a King James or ESV, exactly how they have it.
I have it in the King James.
Okay, read it.
Okay. Let God arise.
Say it loud, like James Brown.
Let God arise.
Let God arise.
Let his enemies be scattered. Let those also who take him flee before him. As smoke is driven away, so drive them away. As wax melts before the fire, so that the wicked perish at the presence of God.
Of God. So
Yeah.
2 verses, they call him God. Somebody read it out of a sefer.
Let Elohim arise. Let his
Psalm
enemies-
68.
Psalm 68.
Let who?
Let Elohim.
But he said God.
Elohim.
So who are we talking about? Is God Elohim?
Elohim is Elohim.
Elohim is Elohim. Because God, what's name is God?
Generic.
What the Muslims have? Allah. That's their God, right? Okay, let's talk about the Hindu. Buddhist. Buddhist is God. So when you read this,
Oh,
it's
the
actually,
sun god. Don't forget that.
huh?
The sun god.
The sun,
Tammuz.
Tammuz, all these gods.
One of them.
So when you read that scripture, you're reading Psalm 68, and it says God, right? How many verses did you read?
I only read 2.
You read 2 verses, and 2 times we see God. Let's read the next 2 verses.
Sure. But let the righteous be glad. Let them rejoice before God.
Here we go, God again. All right,
Yes, let them rejoice exceedingly. Sing to God.
here he is.
Sing praises to his name. Extol him who rides on the clouds by his name, Yah. And rejoice before
Now-
him. That is in the New King
In the New King James, even the one or 2 times,
Something.
1 or 2 times they slip up.
Yep.
Now, if you go to the older King James, it says Lord.
They've been mistaken.
If you go to some other books, it says Lord because somebody is trying to hide Elohim.
That's what ticks me off.
Somebody trying to hide them. So when you have, like I said in the beginning, you have 4 or 5 books, these books in your house,
Yep.
and you can't find them. And you're looking at it, and you're like, God, and somebody else say they worship God, and you ask them, well, what God do you worship? Well, it must be the same because my book says God just like your book says God. There's no distinction.
Right.
When there was a distinction, there always was a distinction,
Yes, it was.
but somebody decided take out some of the books, leave us with 66, and they were Europeans. Let's leave you back with 66, and let's get rid of anything that acknowledges him to being who he is. Oh, can I get that?
Elohim.
L-L-U-R.
Elyon.
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 El-Elyon.
Most High.
The Most High. El-Elyon. I can't say it because I'm so used to just saying God.
I read it yesterday. Early on. Yes.
The Most High. When Abraham was a child, I'm going somewhere. If you take a minute and wait for me, right? When Abraham was a child, he said to his dad, "Why y'all worshiping all these false gods? They don't have no spirit in them. They just dummy gods. You see this every day. If you're in an area where there are predominantly Europeans do this. So if you go into one of their communities and ride around for a minute, you don't have to talk to anyone. You don't have to say anything to anybody. Just slow it down a little bit. Speed limit's 25 miles an hour. You're able to go maybe 20 and not get stopped. So slow it down a little bit and look in their yards. And you're going to see what?
Mary.
Oh, Mary, don't you weep. You're going to see Mary. You're going to see
Baby Jesus.
Yeah.
Jesus.
In the band.
All kind of saints. All over the place. Right?
Maybe a couple.
God,
And on Christmas they go really crazy with it. Right? They put white JC everywhere.
From as a baby.
Yes. Now, okay, so You go to the graveyard,
Reefs.
and who do you see? He up there too. White JC and the Sunshine Band everywhere. This whole nation is perverted and twisted, and serving false idols. And when you tell people truth, they don't want to hear truth.
That's not love.
I was going to go somewhere. I'm going to go there, and then I'm going to make my way. Oh, I can't wait to get there.
That's all the same guy. We all
Yeah.
think the same thing, right?
Let's go to Malachi 3, please.
Okay.
About the verse 68,
Comfortable talking about
4, right? Sing to God, sing praises to his name. Extol him who rides on the clouds by his name Yah, and rejoice before him. Now in my explanation, it says verse 4.
Oh, no. I don't want to hear explanations.
Well, see, that's what
Stop.
okay, but what I'm saying is, what I had a question, but
We can take the question after you
Well-
finish, because we're on tape.
Yeah. So,
okay.
yeah, we're going to go back
I'll
online.
probably forget about
But I don't do commentaries. So
it's not a
no, when you start reading the stuff that's on the side and the little notes, that's commentary.
okay.
All right, that's comments from somebody
Somebody else.
that doesn't even probably know y'all.
It's not that. It's like a concordance.
Same thing.
Okay.
Okay.
One month kind
All right. So
of
Malachi chapter 3.
Specific verse.
And actually, he tells us salvation comes in the name of Yah. Start at 1. I'm only going to read a couple verses here because I want to go down to 4 verses. Behold,
Anybody else?
good.
Malachi 3. Behold, I will send my messenger, and he shall prepare the way before me. And Adonai, whom ye
And your book probably says Lord. Go ahead.
And Adonai, whom ye seek, shall suddenly come to his temple, even the messenger of the covenant, whom ye delight in. Behold, he shall come, says Yahuwah of hosts. But who may abide the day of his coming? And who shall stand when he appears? For he is like a refiner's fire, and a fuller's soap. And he shall sit as a refiner and a purifier of silver. And he shall purify the sons of Levi, and purge them as gold and silver, that they may offer unto Yahuwah an offering in righteousness. Then shall the offering of Yehudah and Jerusalem be pleasant unto Yahuwah, as in the days of old, and as in former years.
Okay, so as in the days of old, remember we said a few weeks ago we talked about the ancient path. There's only one path that leads to righteousness, and this is what we're looking at: an offering in righteousness. Like, you're wasting your time, and I know this is going to hurt your feelings, but you're wasting your time to worship on Sunday. You really are. Because the appointed day is Shabbat. The appointed day is Shabbat. Oh, he knows my heart. He knows how wicked it is. That you won't come to him on the date of his appointed time. That you refuse to. Because you're stiff-necked, hard-headed, and full of rejection. Can I say that? Full of rejection? Yeah, just full of rejection.
Rebellion.
What a rebellion. You just want, no matter who says it, whether I say it politely and I can orchestrate it with on a board and try to win you over intellectually, and you sit there and you're like, that I understand that. or whether I'm screaming and yelling in the front of your house or on the street corner, and you're like, ooh, I can't, that's too loud. Cry out.
Spare not.
58, Isaiah, because we're working backwards. Now, all these texts that I'm giving you, line upon line, precept upon precept, they're all going to build to something.
Yeah.
Isaiah 58. Because I want my offering to be accepted unto Yah. I mean, if I dress up in a 3-piece suit and I put on my nice tie and I go to this building and I wave my offering, because some of them make you do that, right? And put it in the basket.
Or on the
Are on the steps, because they're doing that nowadays, right?
Yeah, definitely.
You seen them dancing on the steps, right, with all the money. Get your blessing, lay it down here. Let me just dance all over it.
Definitely Baptist Church.
Close. They're doing it right around the corner.
They do. Oh, do they?
No, Bethany's right around the corner. This is going worldwide. So
Sorry.
I didn't mention your name.
Are they naming names?
I ain't mention it. She did. I ain't even say your name.
You see something wrong, sir?
I know it, but I ain't say it.
I forgot.
Not a problem, consult the word.
Yeah. Where did I say go to?
Isaiah 58.
Yeah. So whether I do it real nice and polite and tickle your intellect, or whether I do this. Somebody read this.
What verse?
Verse 2, 1 and 2.
Can I read that? Cry aloud, spare not, lift up your voice like a trumpet. Tell my people their transgressions and the house of Jacob their sins. Yet they seek me daily and delight to know my ways, as a nation that did righteous and did not forsake the ordinance of their Yah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so
They
they
ask,
think well listen, did you hear what you just read? Did you hear what they read? They come to me daily. They act like they're doing right. They acting, play acting. Come on, read.
Okay, wait a minute.
As a nation that did righteousness.
They ask of me the ordinance of justice. They take delight in approaching
Yeah.
Yah.
So don't read anymore. Don't read anymore.
Okay.
Put a marker there and read through the rest of that book. And guess what you're going to see? We went through it. We went through a little bit of it last week. You're going to find a whole bunch of people talking loud and ain't saying nothing. Now, what was verse 1? Verse 2. Verse 1 was cry loud. Verse 2 said what?
Lift
Yeah.
up
They
your,
forsook. Go ahead. Lift up your voice.
lift up your, well, it's one, but it goes like, okay, cry loud, spare not, lift up your voice like a trumpet. And
Keep
the
going.
house of Jacob, their sins. I mean, in the house of Jacob, their sins.
And
I forgot a part. Tell my people their transgressions,
Don't worry, you're
and
going
the
to tell them.
house of Jacob their sins. Yet they seek me daily,
Keep going.
and delight to know my ways, as a nation that did righteousness and did not forsake the ordinance of their
Yeah. Stop right there. Now, for your delight, the Sefer. Everyone turn with me to chapter 12 of Jasher.
Well, I can't.
Now, if you don't have it, someone's gonna
You
help
can
you out.
download it
You
for
can actually
free.
search it online.
You can download it.
Oh, not
for free.
Jasher, not Jasher.
You want
Jubilees.
Jubilees?
Jubilee.
Where's those numbers?
Jubilee 12.
Chapter 12.
Jubilee 12. Now, I'm gonna show you something that
It took me to a movie theater.
let's go back to 11. Cause
Jubilees 11. Okay.
11. I said something earlier, I want to back up what I said. We don't have a lot of the early life of Abraham in the traditional Bible. But when you read through Jubilee, it does exactly what the Gospels do. That's why I said, how many books are in the Bible? How many New Testaments? How many Gospels? Because Jubilees, in this segment of Jubilees, it gives you insight that you didn't get. So when you read through the Gospels, you'll see a story, and to get the fullness of the story, you got to go to another book, and then you get it, and you're like, oh yeah, because maybe he doesn't say it all in this chapter or this book, but when you jump over to this other book, you see it, and you like start putting the pieces together, and you're like, oh yeah, now I understand with more clarity because you've done some investigation. The book tells us to study to show yourself approved. A workman that needs not be ashamed. So that means you have done some investigation. So you have to do investigating of the book. You have to do some historical references. You may have to read Josephus. You have to do some other stuff in order to really know what you're talking about, or you're going to be naive.
Preach.
But y'all should be easy, right? It should be easy to understand. It's burdens.
Yeah, but you know what? Some of the things, all you gotta do is read it.
Right.
When we get to Abraham in Genesis, you're gonna see something that happened when he offers a sacrifice, an offering to Yah. Yah gives him an ingredient. Remember we did ingredients to the supper? He gave him an ingredient of what to put on the altar. He brought all these things and put them on the altar and sliced them in half. Everything but the birds. Then the birds of the air came to swoop down to eat the food. And Abraham shooed the birds away. Doesn't sound like a big deal, right? It was like, you just get away from here. Doesn't sound like it's something so profound. He just shooed the birds away. I'm gonna leave you with that. What's that? I'm gonna leave it with that because I need somebody to read.
Oh, I didn't mean it like
Chapter 11.
Verse what?
Start.
Just the first one?
Yeah, we'll start the first verse so we can get a good grips of what's going on here.
Jubilees 11 and 1. And in the 35th Jubilee, in the third week, in the first year thereof, Reu took to himself a woman, and her name was Orah, the daughter of Ur, the son of Chesed, and she bore him a son, and he called his name Sarai, in the 7th year of this week in this Jubilee. And the sons of Noah began to war on each other, to take captive and to slay each other, and to shed the blood of men on the earth, and to eat the blood, and to build strong cities and walls and towers, and individuals began to exalt themselves above the nation, and to found the beginnings of kingdoms, and to go to war people against people, and nation against nation, and city against city, and all began to do evil, and to acquire arms, and to teach their sons war. And they began to capture cities, and to sell male and female slaves. And the son of Chesed, built the city of Ara of the Chassidim, and called its name after his own name, and the name of his father. And they made for themselves molten images, and they worshipped each the idol, the molten image which they had made for themselves. And they began to make graven image and unclean simulacra and malignant ruach or spirits, assisted and seduced them into committing transgression and uncleanness.
Okay, take a break for a second. Two things that I need to bring to your attention. First, y'all don't appreciate you eating blood. It's not a good thing. So that was a sin. That was a major sin. It's still a sin. You don't eat raw meat with blood coming out of it.
Oh yeah.
It's sin. You're eating. It's detestable. And I used to do this. I used to have. How do you want your steak?
Black and blue.
Medium.
I like for it to be.
Still mowing?
Yeah. When I cut it, I want to see the pink of the meat. Blood coming out of.
I just did a touch of pink. Yeah.
The thing's doing something. Right?
Yeah.
Y'all says that's not good.
Yeah.
I don't appreciate you doing that. That's not what. I don't know how else I can make it. It's evil. It's wrong. It's bad.
It's life in the blood.
Life in the blood.
It's life in the blood.
Oh, wow.
That's why the witches do it. Drinking kids' blood and stuff.
You're picking up. You're wondering how come these people are walking around demonic. You've put all kind of demonic stuff in you.
Wow.
Then it goes on to talk about the children, teaching the children to war. We have a fascination in America that we just can't get away from guns. So as soon as our kids get old enough, we want to take them to the gun range and teach them how to shoot. And it's not the bad thing that you learn how to shoot, but you don't teach your children to be chased. So when they get upset, they think they can pull a gun out on anybody. And then you go to the school and you have somebody shooting up everybody.
Well, not here.
Next, the molding image. And you saw this starting to happen, and it just took over. So they have no problem with everybody having some kind of idol. So we get to verse 4. And these are the children, the grandchildren of Noah. And that just shows that after y'all destroyed everything and gave you a second chance, you're walking in grace. And then you still refuse to be obedient. You just pick up stuff. You just create things. You just start, every wicked imagination in the heart just comes out. Read verse 4.
And the prince Mastema exerted himself to do all this. And he sent forth other Ruachoth, those which were put under his hand, to do all manner of wrong and sin, and all manner of transgression, to corrupt and destroy, and to shed blood upon the earth. For this reason he called the name of Serug, for everyone turned to do all manner of sin and transgression. And he grew up and dwelt in Ur of the Chassidim, near the father of his woman's mother, and he worshipped idols. And he took to himself a woman in the 36th Jubilee, in the 5th week, in the 1st year thereof, and her name was Melka, the daughter of Cabir. the daughter of his father's brother. And she bore him Nachor in the first year of this week. And he grew and dwelt in Ur of the Kasdim. And his father taught him the researches of the Kasdim to divine and to augur, according to the signs of heaven.
And so now you're getting into witchcraft. And he's starting to tell,
Like astrology.
kids are teaching adults are teaching their children witchcraft. I remember when my kids were younger, and it was around the time that they came out with this game and Dungeons and Dragons, and all the people outside of the faith were like into the Dungeons and Dragons, and I was like, we're not bringing that up in here. And then they got a little bit older. What was the next witchcraft that came along the way? Harry Potter. And then some of you fools let your kids read that stuff. Some of you probably read it. But that was a very foolish act because you're picking up witchcraft. Some of you were in Christianity and some of you still are and think that that's okay. I don't call transgression a transgression because that's what it is. You're transgressing. You think it's fine because half of the world around you says it's okay. They have Harry Potter night in churches.
What?
Yeah.
Harry Potter night. They have all kind of witchcraft.
Oh, Lord.
That's how you know that
You gotta know something's not right.
you know that the toleration of sin has gotten so low.
No.
Yeah.
You know,
It's gotten so low. You know how low it's gotten? It's gotten so low they said that this new abortion thing is if the baby is coming out,
Right.
push it back in and then kill it. Or maybe bring it out and kill it. That's how wicked we've gotten.
They want a baby.
Say all on that. Are we on verse 8?
Yes.
Okay. We haven't even seen Abraham yet. Come on.
Verse 8. And in the 37th Jubilee, in the 6th week, in the first year thereof, he took to himself a woman, and her name was Yechezk'el, the daughter of Nestag of the Kasdim. And she bore him Tarak in the 7th year of this Jubilee. And the prince Mastema
There he is again.
sent ravens and birds to devour the seed which was sown in the land, in order to destroy the land, and rob the children of men of their labors. Before they could plow the seed, the ravens picked it from the surface of the ground. And for this reason he called his name Tarak, because the ravens and the birds reduced them to destitution and devoured their seed. And the years began to be barren, owing to the birds, and they devoured all the fruit of the trees from the trees. It was only with great effort that they could save a little of all the fruit of the earth in their days.
So this wicked spirit, a wicked spirit sent ravens to eat the grain before it would grow, and no one could stop the birds. You guys seen the Alfred Hitchcock had a thing about the birds,
Yeah.
right? The ravens. It's like where do they get this? Where do they get their stories from?
That's cheap.
And yeah, what do they call it when you take someone else's room?
Prejudice.
Plagiarism. I thought they were creative.
Yo, you thought that was real creative, right? Wow, that was really good. Look, it's in the book. You'd be like, did
Wow.
I thought I saw that. Come on.
Verse
Verse 13. We're still in Jubilees, chapter 11, verse 13.
And in this 39th Jubilee, in the 2nd week, in the 1st year, Tarak took to himself a woman, and her name was Edna, the daughter of Avram, the daughter of his father's seed. And in the 7th year of the week, she bore him a son, and he called his name Avram, by the name of the father of his mother. for he had died before his daughter had conceived a son. And the child began to understand the errors of the earth, that all went astray after graven images and after uncleanness. And his father taught him writing. And he
All
was,
right. I'm going to interrupt you in the middle of this. Now listen to Abram, before he became Abraham. As a child, how old are you? You're 10?
10.
At 14, watch what happens. This is going to be really interesting, right? So this child looked around and said, these people are all wicked. That's something for a kid, right?
Yeah, for
He's
kids
like,
to see that.
He's like, this ain't right.
I'm young, something wrong.
Something's wrong. The whole nation's, everybody's jacked up. Come on. So back up and finish, go back to that. 15.
And the child began to understand the errors of the earth, that all went astray after graven images and after uncleanness. And his father taught him writing, and he was 2 weeks of years old. And he separated himself from his father, that he might not worship idols with him.
Abraham
He didn't even go
Separate himself.
to
He
worship
separated himself.
with his dad. You know, and this is a kicker. This is a kicker in the butt, because when we're young and y'all speaks to us, right? If we grew up in Christianity, right, and we can see the hypocrisy,
Yep.
and we're forced to go. And then that's why our children are not like, I don't even want to go to church because it's not right. They're not right. Because that child has more sense than you. The child has more sense than the one that has this book, this walk, getting up in the morning and playing this down the street. Come on, Johnny. Johnny's like, I don't want to go up in there. Last time I was up in there, the pastor was looking at me funny.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yep.
I said it.
Love the period of it.
I remember not wanting to go to church because I didn't like some of them people. But hey, we had to go.
Yeah, you had no place else to go.
We had to go.
You had to go. It was like you were forced to.
Everybody
They were mean.
Abraham was like, he was like, Dad, I done read. You showed me to read. You've given me lessons. That's not right. I'm not going there with you. He actually rebelled against his dad. Come on.
Verse 16.
Verse 16.
And he began to pray to the Creator of all things, that he might save him from the errors of the children of men, and that his portion should not fall into error after uncleanness and vileness. And the seed time came for the sowing of seed upon the land. And they all went forth together to protect their seed against the ravens. And Avram went forth with those that went. And the child was a lad of 14 years. And a cloud of ravens came to devour the seed. And Avram ran to meet them before they settled on the ground, and cried to them before they settled on the ground to devour the seed, and said, Descend not, return to the place whence ye came. And they proceeded to turn back. And he caused the clouds of ravens to turn back that day 70 times. And of all the ravens throughout all the land where Avram was, there settled there not so much as one.
This is a bad dude.
Yeah, he turned right.
Because Yah has placed in our heart to have dominion. But we don't know how to do it.
Wow.
Yah, Abraham was able to deter the ravens from coming 70 times. It got so bad, they're like, whatever was in him. See, we don't see this in the other book. And so I had to bring it up because when I read this, I'm like, wow, it's a bad dude.
Yeah.
For real.
That he could scare off it so much so that not one raven was in his area. They just look like, thanks but no thanks.
Go back.
Because he was turning back to Yah. He was praying to Yah. He said in his heart, I'm going to pray to the creator of all things and not these idols. We don't want to disturb mom's peace. We don't want to disturb our family's fellowship. We don't want to get everybody else upset because we're living right, as opposed to living right. Okay.
It was also used as a tool to keep us from not knowing just how much power the Most High has given us to be able to speak to problems because he spoke to the issue.
Why would they not put that in here?
Because it keeps people ignorant and subjective to, the authorities that were teaching it. So again, it's not the word that's the problem. It's really the person whose hands, or the enemy whose hands are on the book telling the narrative.
Doesn't it say somewhere that the curses that are found in this book will be upon the ones that add or take away from it?
That's right. Yep.
You know it, you've heard it, you've read it. But yet, you have a people that have taken out of your book, and you know it was in the book. And how stupid can you be? Because the book was, the book, go back to the original King James. Go to the Catholic Church. You got books that are not in your 66 books.
Why have they preserved them?
Why would you take it out and nobody say, like, yo, there's a problem here.
Right. Right.
There's a problem that the books were in, and then some Europeans canonized the book and took some out and said, these are the only books you want to read. And when I would ask the question, they would, well, there's errors in those other.
Yeah, I've been hearing that too.
And I'm like,
I heard that all the time.
and then I was okay with that until I started reading the King James and started looking at the interlinear, and I started seeing error. I'm like, wait a minute, you jacked the book up before you gave it to us.
But there's no error in the transliteration of Jesus.
Right. That was not even his name.
Which technically means earth pig in Latin.
So where's truth? I'm gonna calm down. We're gonna finish this chapter. Where we at?
20.
Verse 20.
Verse 20. And all who were with him throughout all the land saw him cry out, and all the ravens turned back. And his name became great in all the land of the Chaldean. And there came to him this year all those that wished to sow. And he went with them until the time of sowing ceased. And they sowed their land, and that year they brought enough grain home and eat and were satisfied. And in the first year of the 5th week, Avram taught those who made implements for oxen.
Hold up. Time out. You ever see something like, okay, when my son was playing football and they called him out to play, he was a running back. They called him out to play, and I remember seeing him do something that I used to do. And when I immediately saw that, I snickered to myself because that was me. He's in his football uniform, and he skipped out onto the field.
Really?
Yeah. He skipped. I'm like, my boy. Like, we go out, run. He was skipping out because he was so happy inside.
Wow.
That he skipped out on the field. I knew that was my son before that. But when I saw that, I was guaranteed that's him. That's him. Because I skipped. You guys haven't seen me, but I would run, I would skip and go.
That's some happy stuff right there.
Yeah. Happy feelings.
He called me out.
when you look at the next verse, when you look at the next verse, it's an identification of who we are.
Okay, let's hear it.
Because how many things have we invented in the United States, just the United States, and gotten patents for? How many things have we invented that we didn't get patents for? The list is like way large.
Yeah.
How many things has the other nations invented? It's really tall, really tiny.
They invented the patent office.
Right. They invented the patent office so that they could steal our invention and say, look what we did. Pull out your cell phone, look what we made.
Yeah.
Pull out your everything, and you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
Accomplishments of
even voice over IP, we made.
What?
Voice over IP, VoIP, we made. Cell phones, we made the technology.
Oh no, don't start because we'll be here for hours.
Even the material comes from the mother.
I got a call from Switzerland 6 years ago. 6 or 7 years ago. My cousin Benny.
Oh.
Actually, he was my mom's cousin. His son found me on Ancestry.com, is that
Okay.
it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Looked me up, called my office.
There you go.
And I had to listen to him. His son's name is Cindy.
What?
Right?
Say again?
Cindy.
His son?
Sydney.
Oh, Sydney.
Not Cindy, Sydney.
Right? So
Sound like it.
he's talking to me. I'm like, I don't know, this could be some kind of prank call. Called me back Monday. He said, do you know Agola Ross? I'm like, Gola Ross? It was a fog in my mind for a moment.
That's your grandma.
Yes. I'm like, if you know Gola Ross, we're cousins. I'm like, really? That's my grandma,
Wow.
Ross.
Wow.
Harry Tubman,
Harriet, right?
Ross,
Yeah.
from,
Oh,
So
wow.
I'm like, wow. He says, my dad left Philadelphia when he was real young,
Wow.
like 8 or 10, somewhere like
Where
that.
are you calling from? Switzerland?
He called from Switzerland
Man.
Why are you doing this?
Got it.
Traveling.
and went
Got it.
down south, became a scientist, right? He says, through the conversation, he says, my dad, we have the patent. We still have it. You open up a bottle of soda,
Yeah.
he invented it.
Damn.
I was like, whoa!
Yeah. Wow.
But he didn't get he didn't get anything from it because the twist top.
Twist.
Because all they had was glass and metal. Yeah, and cork.
The court.
He's the first one. He invented that. I'm like, we. That's all we do. We invent stuff. We make it happen.
Trying to make stuff easier.
Read the next verse.
Got enough hard work.
I need to
Because when I read this, I was like, whoa, we are he. You can't tell me that he's not one of us. Come on.
Verse 22. And in the first year of the 5th week, Avram taught those who made implements for oxen, the artificers in wood, and they made a vessel above the ground, facing the frame of the plow, in order to put the seed thereon. And the seed fell down therefrom upon the share of the plow, and was hidden in the earth. And they no longer feared the ravens.
He
And
taught them. He taught them to a plow to put the seed in the ground.
Wow.
Plowing and seeding.
What's that?
He was plowing. They were plowing and seeding at the
They were plowing and seeding at the same time.
Wow.
Abraham thought of that. Because only we can think of that stuff. The whole world's going crazy, killing each other, thinking about how they're going to create a new gun. And and he's like, okay, let's do this, that, and try that and grab. And by the time he's done, and we witness it every day, every year, every spring.
Yep.
We see them plowing and sowing. And there's nobody out there but one guy in a tractor.
Because technology.
And we think, oh, well, look how great you just
Stole it.
thank you. See,
Thief.
23.
And after this manner they made vessels above the ground on all the frames of the plows, and they sowed and tilled all the land, according as Avram commanded them, and they no longer feared the birds.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Now, I wanted to. Do I have 5? Yeah. 5, 10 more minutes. I gotta go a little bit further because we started in Malachi.
Right.
You okay? Read. No, keep reading.
Chapter 12.
Chapter 12. And it came to pass.
And it came to pass in the 6th week and in the 7th year thereof, that Avram said to Terach his father, saying, Father. And he said, Behold, here am I, my son. And he said, What help and profit have we from those idols which you do worship, and before which you do bow yourself? For there is no ruach in them, for they are dumb forms and misleading of the heart.
Wow.
Worship them not. Worship the Elohim of heaven, who causes the rain and the dew to descend on the earth, and does everything upon the earth. And has created everything by his word, and all life is from before his face. Why do you worship things that have no ruach in them? For they are the work of men's hands, and on your shoulders do ye bear them, and ye have no help from them. But they are a great cause of shame to those who make them, and a misleading of the heart to those who worship them. Worship them not. And his father said unto him,
Listen to Dad, because we say Dad knows best, right? Listen to Dad,
Yeah, like worship.
because Abraham's having really a great conversation with Dad.
That's a heart to heart.
he's like,
Heart to heart, he's like, Dad,
It's a loving conversation.
we gotta stop doing this.
Not typical of a 14-year-old mind.
Well, he's getting a little bit older now, but yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
a young person.
So it gives you the date at the beginning, and I didn't calculate it to tell you the exact date, how old he is, but it does give you a date. He's got a little bit older, and he's having a conversation with Dad. And he's like, Dad, you're not living right. You're worshiping on Sunday.
But that's
Right.
That's why he said out of a child of a mouth.
Yeah, out of the mouth of the
Out of the
child.
mouth of a child. The other way around.
For his son
His
to
son.
be the one to say that to him. Because typically we're supposed to model our parents. But it's a shame when it's the other way around.
What do they say? What is the nickname for Abraham? He's a what?
Father Abraham.
Father Abraham, but what does Yah call
Friend
him?
of God.
He calls him a
Friend
friend.
of
Yeah.
God.
So from a child, he was a friend of Yah.
Wow.
You have your childhood friendship. Then no matter what happens, that's your buddy forever. We talked about this yesterday in the house about one of our friends, my son's friends did something that we didn't think was right, and you know what? He's still his friend because we have buddies. It's hard to find good friends that kind of know you from a child, and you grow up together. So he hiccups. So he farts when he's looking at the movie. That's okay. That's my buddy.
One way of putting it. Well, that's true.
You put up with it.
Yeah. Okay, people. Okay.
Yeah.
He like,
But
let's sit this
next thing you know, you farting together, right? I told you not to eat that ice cream.
You might be saying right. You might, hey.
But you're your buddy, right?
Yeah.
Abraham had developed such a great relationship with God, Yah, that he was like, it was his buddy.
Yeah.
It's like, we can't do this. You're hurting his feelings.
Tempting his wrath.
Yeah, you're tempting his wrath. What's his wrath? What's the word I'm using? No, when you're hurting the Spirit of God.
Grieving.
Grieving Him.
Grieving.
Don't grieve Him. How grievous can it get? How much can you do? How much wickedness can you do, and you think it's okay, unless your conscience is seared? Oh, where are we at?
This is just a
6.
year later.
It's a year later. Calculation. So he's 15, talking to Dad. Come on,
Verse 6.
verse 6.
And his father said unto him, I also know it, my son.
See?
Wow. All time you know it.
It
What you doing? What type of game you been playing?
gets
And
deep.
that is why they took the book up. That line right
One line. That's not the go.
See something?
That right there.
Yeah, right
Hallelujah.
He said, you're right, Dad. Dad says, son, yeah, you're right about that. But listen, because everybody doesn't have the book in front of them, so they've got to hear the next verse. They got to hear it. Read.
Oh, okay. Verse 6. And his father said unto him, I also know it, my son. But what shall I do with the people who have made me to serve before them? And if I
Who made me their pastor? Go ahead.
That's crazy. But true. That is wild. That is wild. That's why I took this out. This is wild.
Come on.
And if I
Oh my goodness.
Jesse's reading ahead.
Can't wait.
Come on.
and if I tell them the truth, they will slay me.
Oh!
They gonna kill me. Come on.
For their soul cleaves to them to worship them and honor them. Keep silent, my son, lest they slay you. And these words he spoke to his 2 brothers, and they were angry with him, and he kept silent.
Okay, we're gonna stop there.
Oh my
I gotta finish
goodness.
the home then church. I gotta finish this.
Oh my
This is crazy.
They don't want to tell me the truth.
Hey,
Hey, that crazy one.
They're gonna get that.
That's crazy.
remember that letter I sent you?
Right.
The elder told me to keep silent now?
Keep your mouth shut.
Keep your
Keep
mouth
your mouth
shut.
You're not the only one.
Anybody.
I got another friend that went to
It's the same spirit, yeah.
St. Matthew's.
There we go. Shout
And
out churches.
yeah, I pulled that church out because my friend went to him and he was just telling the truth. He said, "Don't tell this to anybody else. Keep your mouth shut. Don't tell."
Yeah, they call
Wow.
it foolish and unlearned.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
And the people will eat one or 2 ways. They will kill you physically or they'll kill you emotionally.
Right.
Then you're cut off.
You're right. Cut you
I
off.
rest my case. Hallelujah.